Perfect. So, welcome. We are so excited to chat with Angeline, who's feeling fine drinking her wine tonight. Let's see, we are doing the Firekeeper's Daughter tonight, and obviously we loved that book. It was amazing. We just released a podcast episode on it now, and hopefully you guys check that out. Be sure to stick around at the end of the chat with a copy of your book, and we'll get a group picture. And if not, probably still stick around and we'll try to fit it in. And it will be great.
All right, and so without further ado, we are going to welcome Angeline Boulley with us. Hello.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here.
We are so happy to have you.
Patchy's making a little appearance. Patch.
Oh, I see. How cute. That's so funny. Cute. Oh, well, we're excited to have the both of you. And we're ready to just jump on in. So, let's see. Maggie, the reader, wanted to know. Okay, sorry, I skipped a part. So we have read and heard that a lot of what you wrote is based on real places. Maggie, the reader, wanted to know if any of the characters are based off people you know in real life.
Yeah, Aunt Teddy is inspired by a lot of the strong Nishkwewug that I've met in every tribal community I've ever lived and worked in. The elders are inspired by a lot of the elders in my community. And Granny June's actually inspired by my cousin Elaine's grandma. And she's a character. She's passed on, but I used to drive her to garage sales, and she always would start every conversation like she was in the middle of an argument with you. And so she would just start yelling at you by way, like that was how she greeted you. She'd be like, well, then you did this. And I was like, what? So she was just a real character. So people from around my tribal community, and I say inspired by because they're not like true, portrayals of them. But yeah, and then Adonis, I think, started out like me, light-skinned Ojibwe person with a native dad and a non-native mom. And, grew up my whole life hearing that, oh, you don't look Indian. But I think the more that I got into different drafts of the story, the more I say that she became self-aware, and she took on qualities that I definitely did not have. So I am not good in science or math, and I've never played hockey. So, yeah.
But that is a big part, right, of the whole tribal community there too, which is awesome.
Oh yeah. And I say that too, like for anyone who's familiar with the Upper Peninsula, if your town has more ice arenas than pizza places, you live in a hockey town, So, and that's definitely Sault Ste. Marie. It's impossible to live there and not pick up, the jargon and the life, the lifestyle. So
that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So in the acknowledgements, you talk about a real life experience, excuse me, a real life experience with a police officer in your high school, which inspired the relationship between Donis and Jamie. And can you share that story with us?
Well, it was my friend's high school. So, and I moved back to the town in Southwest Michigan. It's like right there, where I grew up. And so I just moved back last year, and I'm still friends with my friend Chrissy, and we worked at the same restaurant and in high school, but she went to a different school that was just across the border into Indiana. And she told me about a new guy senior year, and she's like, he's just your type. And I'll tell you something about my type later if we have time. But and then it turned out that he wasn't my type because he didn't play sports, and he hung out with all the stoners or burnouts or whatever. And that wasn't my type at that time. Not that I'm like into stoners and burnouts now, but I'm more like willing to give people a, give people a chance. But so I never met him. And at the end of the school year, she said that there was this huge drug bust, and it turned out that that new guy was really an undercover police officer. Like he was there to, find out who the suppliers were and all this and that. And it was this big to do. And I just remembered thinking, like, what if I would have met him? And what if there would have been, what if we would have liked each other? And then I thought, what if it wasn't that he liked me, but that he needed my help? And then I thought, why would some undercover investigation need the help of an ordinary Ojibwe girl? And and so that spark of an idea always stayed with me. And my whole career, I worked in different tribal communities, and I would see different, I worked with a lot of teens. And so I saw a lot of that similar identity stuff that I had gone through, where you're either too much or not enough or this or that, or your family left the reservation, and, just all this stuff. And so a thought came to me, and it was like, wait, what if it was a federal investigation? What if he was, federal police? Like at first I thought FBI agent, but FBI agents are typically entry level is like late 20s, and they have a master's degree or law degree before they enter the academy. So it was more like a tribal police officer that, and I just started like working out little pieces to the puzzle and everything. And then finally, when my daughter was 10, I think, and she was like really into Twilight, and I just thought, I need to write this book that I've been thinking about, because I wanted her to have a book where she could feel seen, represented in a story. And, and so I thought it would be ready by the time she was in high school, but it came out when she was a senior in college. So it took me much longer to write than I anticipated.
Funny how that seems to happen. So we got a few questions over the really super gorgeous cover of that book. So it's constantly talked about. So both we had, yes, I love it. Next favorite book, and Maggie the reader wanted to know about it, and what kind of input did you have in it, and is there any significance? Oh.
This was the promo box that my publisher sent out to book bloggers and other people, like the influencers in the bookish community. Yeah. And then it's Earn Your Truth, Live the Lie.
I love that.
And I have my camera on mirror my screen, so that's why everything's backwards. And then
no, it's actually coming across.
Yeah, we see it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's just really and then it had the an early copy of the book, and it had earrings, strawberry earrings, and a sweetgrass scented candle, and lipstick. It had lipstick from a Native woman. All of the products were from Native woman-owned companies. And so my publisher has just been incredible to me. I was able to have input, debut authors don't, like, I don't get veto power or anything like that. But that said, the publisher wanted me to be happy with the cover, and they knew that I would prefer an Ojibwe artist, because just the beautiful florals and not so much the geometrics or things that might be associated with other tribes, other regions. I just really love the vibrant floral motifs and vivid colors. And so my publisher found Moses Lunham, who is Ojibwe from Kettle and Stony Point First Nation in Ontario. And this was like right when COVID, it was right before COVID hit. And no, it was right after, because he makes his income doing school visits. And all of his appointments got canceled. And he was like really wondering how he was going to make ends meet. And then my publisher calls him and asks if he wants to design a book cover. And so he read an early manuscript, not the final, and just came up with this beautiful, incredible artwork. I was able to have a little bit of input, but really, I mean, it was any input I gave was just like little minor tweaks and not anything nothing of significant.
I did see on your website, I think, where it's like kind of color changing too. That's just cool. Did that have any significance with anything, or is it just?
No, that's my, so I have a book agent, I have a film agent, and then I have a speaking engagements person.
Okay.
And she takes over my website, and she added this animation stuff that changes the color, and it looks really cool.
Yeah, it did.
Because I'm starting to get into paid speaking gigs now, speaking engagements, but it's not anything like, I don't want to it takes a lot of time to do all the like negotiating and this and that's separate from what my book agent does for my book. So anyway, so I have an events agent, and so yeah.
Well, it's just an absolutely beautiful book, and it's what a lot of people talk about, at least that I've seen on Instagram. Everybody talks about how gorgeous it is. So
yeah, I'm glad it's eye-catching, and if that makes people pick it up and read the book jacket or something, job well done.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So as we know, a lot of what you wrote has a lot of truth behind it. Couple of questions. First of all, are blanket parties real? And then Nicolette Reeds was wondering if you've ever attended one.
Yes, they are real. No, I have not attended, but I've talked with cousins that have, and so yep.
Have you attended like any of the other ceremonies that you talk about in the book, like the death ceremonies?
Yeah, the 4-day journey. Yeah. My sister passed away, my younger sister. She was a year and a half younger than me, and she passed away when she was 29, car accident. Healthy, vibrant person, my favorite person in the world, and just here one day and gone the next. And we did the 4-day, the 4-day ceremony for her, and she's been gone 25 years now, and I still remember what it was like sitting with her and going to reach for my phone because I wanted to call her. No, yeah, it was like wanting to talk to her and thinking about something I wanted to say, and then realizing that she's laid out in front of me. And it was just a bizarre time. And so I wanted to kind of capture that surrealness of when you lose someone and everything is just kind of, but yeah, I have attended, I've participated in that, and also Sweat Lodge. I've done some sweats, and I have done my fast, like my first fast I've done, where I was out in the woods for like 2 nights and 2 days.
Yeah, the 4-day ceremony, the way that you wrote it just was absolutely beautiful. From a person who doesn't know much about that, it just sounded so incredible and just empowering to the people that were left behind, and you get so much closure and peace. So I'm glad that you included that in the book. It was very beautiful.
Yep. Thank you. We do have some really beautiful ceremonies, and I know that is a big reason a big thing that helped, like my father especially, and me and my siblings to cope with this, horrific loss.
Yeah, I definitely would agree so much. That was one of my favorite parts in the whole book because I have, dealt with grief and all sorts of things. And it's something when you just feel clueless and don't have any way to go with it. And, I feel like Donis was, she still didn't quite know what to do with all those feelings. I think you captured it really well, that surrealness, but
Yeah.
just having somewhat of a roadmap and ways you're honoring them.
Yep.
I love it. So lots of, okay, so switching gears completely now. Lots of avid readers just go super along with celebrity book groups, which are pretty popular these days, as you know. A big one is Reese's Book Club. So the question is from Bookishly Boob. What was it like having your book chosen for Reese's Book Club?
Oh my gosh. It's okay. The day that I found out, the moment I found out, this is like so typical of this whole roller coaster experience of publishing this book. I got the call from my agent, and I was standing in the checkout line at Walmart, and my agent was like, "Do you have time to talk?" And she never calls me unless I call her. She'll send me an email if it's not urgent, but she's, if she's calling me, it's urgent. So I said, sure, yeah. And she said, Reese, I want to let you know that Reese Witherspoon picked your book for her spring YA selection. And I was just really super quiet. I was like, oh, okay. And then she's like, okay, I'll talk to you later. And she emails me right away and says, is everything okay? Is this a good thing? Like, is this something that is going to be okay? Or is there an issue? And I had to reply back to her and say, I'm standing in the checkout line at Walmart. I just came from the hospital. My dad was diagnosed with COVID. He's 80 years old and has lung issues. And this is just really, it's like extreme highs and extreme lows, and I don't know what to do. So I'll just kind of shut down. And I said, I am, I'm texting away. I'm like, I am really excited. I just can't process anything right now. And so she texts or replies back, and she's like, I'm so sorry, prayers for dad, and he's okay. He made a complete recovery, which at 80 years old, honestly, that day we thought it was a death sentence for him, given his age and health issues. So it was just kind of bizarre to get that call about the book club while real life is happening. And it was, yeah. So.
Well, I'm glad to hear that your dad made a full recovery. I can totally understand all the way up here, down low, and you're just all over the place.
Yeah, I was there at Walmart to get stuff because my parents were going to quarantine. So I was going to drop off supplies, to them. And yeah, so that was just bizarre.
Yeah, I bet. So
wait, the funny side, okay. Reese Witherspoon emailed me, and she was like, oh, Angeline, I just want to let you know how much I loved your book and this and this. It was fantastic. I have it. I might frame it and everything. But her email is spoon at, and then the domain name. And I just thought that was the cutest handle,
yeah,
spoon at such and such. And anyway, so.
That is adorable. I would definitely frame that if I was you. That's amazing. So you came up with this book idea as a teenager, like you said, and then you had your family, you had a successful career, and you began writing this book in your 40s, and you sold the rights, or it went to auction, I should say, in your 50s. And I just absolutely love your story so much, because often we focus as a society on accomplishing our dreams and our goals by our mid-20s. And I personally prefer stories like yours.
Yeah.
So did your life experiences have a lot of impact on writing Firekeeper's Daughter?
Definitely, definitely. I don't think I could have had the ending. I think I would have tried to force a different ending when I was younger. And I think being the age that I am and going through some stuff, like I know that life doesn't tie up in a neat little bow. And I guess I was able to write the ending that was the satisfying ending that was needed, even though it wasn't going to be a romantic happily ever after. And I think I really would have tried to force it at, the other thing too is just all of my career experiences just really informed, you know, my I could write about my community with confidence. I could write, I could take liberties with my story because I knew of things in other tribal communities. Like I could write the story with confidence and defend the decisions that I made of what to include and what not to include. And I don't know that I would have had that confidence if I had, if I had published when I was younger. And I'm thankful that earlier drafts of my book will never see the light of day. So, except, okay, one was like, I don't know what was going on with me, but it was like really erotic. And only my older sister has read it. And she was like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, this is like, and I've had people who've said, I will buy that. Please put that online. I will pay good money to read the erotic journey of Donis and Jamie. So yeah, that one might see the light of day. It might be like a cash cow for me, actually.
Add it to some fan fiction. There you go.
Really?
Well, that stuff gets like crazy popular. Like, how many authors out there like got their whole beginning off of that kind of thing?
Oh, 50 Shades. 50 Shades was fan fiction on Twilight.
Yeah, which is crazy. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so wild.
I
So
love it. I absolutely love it. Next favorite book, wanted to know if it was difficult to write from the perspective of an 18-year-old.
That wasn't my struggle. I didn't struggle with that really. My sons were teens when I started writing it, and then my daughter. And then I've always worked around teens, and so I felt like that didn't intimidate me.
that's awesome. I think it's really wonderful when adults have that. It's easy to like kind of forget once you're out of it, to be like, oh, those crazy fools don't know anything, and just forget like you did it really well. Like that's what it was like growing up. I loved it.
Yeah. I did go on that Urban Dictionary a lot though, just to make sure like timing wise that I wasn't using slang
that was too advanced
or significantly after when it actually appeared. So
that's awesome.
It was more like that. And I did that with technology too, making sure that the technology that I reference was in that window of,
the Blackberries and the Razors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was there a reason that you chose that era?
Yeah. 3 reasons. One, that was when Indian gaming in Michigan was especially lucrative. That's also when meth exploded across the country, not just on reservations, but everywhere. It really did. And then third was that's when GPS technology was available. It was like being used by law enforcement and in other specialized uses. It wasn't widespread used by consumers, and it was imprecise. So I needed technology that could work within the story, but was imprecise, and so it wouldn't like reveal their location or, yeah.
Well, I related a lot to it because I was a teenager at that time. So it was even better for me personally.
Oh, you so silly. So congrats for your book, this one being picked up by Higher Ground and Netflix. I am so excited to like see this brought to life. A lot of us were craving more of the story, more of Donna's, a little more Jamie too, honest, in erotic forms and other fashions. So do you have any more books for her, or do you have any other plans for them at all, or just?
What I can say is that my deal with Macmillan is a 2-book deal, and I'm working on book 2. I will say it's not a traditional sequel per se. It is set in my tribal community, and you will see familiar faces. And I will say that if book 1 was pitched as Indigenous Nancy Drew, that book 2 is pitched as Indigenous Lara Croft, except instead of raiding tombs, the main character will be reclaiming ancestral remains and sacred items from museums and private collectors to bring them back home. And in the course of one of her heists, things go very, very badly.
Oh man, I'm so excited. Is that what you were working on today?
Yeah.
Still in the writing process? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a release date for that book yet?
We're thinking March of 2023, which sounds a long way off, but I have like 10 months to write this and go through edits, and then so they can do the early reader copy next fall. Yeah, publishing is like a long game unless you're in it, and then you're like, wait, I can't believe I have to write all of this. I had 10 years to write the first one, and I have 10 months to write the second, so.
Little bit different this time around.
Mm-hmm.
So this is always one of my favorite questions that we ask authors, and this one came from Bookishly Boov as well. And she wants to know what your favorite, or sorry, which character you relate to the most.
Some days it's Granny June. You know, some days it's her mom. There's part of me in her mom, and yeah. So, but really Donis, I think just relating to just feeling of not quite fitting in, and having to go through the hard work of claiming your identity. And certainly that was something in my younger decades that I did. So yeah, I would say her ultimately.
That's so awesome. I love it. She's like one of my all-time favorite characters, by the way. So yeah. That's great. Do you know then, since I'll be stuck forever on your next book and familiar faces, since it's not quite on them, I know Katey and I had some debate on our podcast over like whether her and Jamie ever reconnect or anything. Do you know? Does that ever get revealed to anyone?
I cannot spoil. I cannot say anything. I cannot say anything.
Okay, that's fair. I'll allow it.
Fair enough.
I will say this. I know Donis's entire life story. And I know Jamie's as well. And I know Jamie's real name. But I'm not telling you that either.
Oh, that was something that I was dying to know the entire book.
Yeah, when that didn't get revealed, even still, yeah, I love it. I love it. I'm good with it though.
Do you guys mind if I just pause for a second? I want to go refill my beverage really quick. So if I can just like,
Oh, yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah,
That
We're
will
all about that.
thank you. It's Saturday, it's like 6:30. Okay, I'll be right back.
You deserve it.
That's actually great timing. So if everyone wants to start thinking for questions, we were about to open it to all of you guys to ask anything you want. So when she comes back.
So if you have a question, what we'll do is we'll have you press the raise your hand button, and then I will invite you to unmute yourself and you can ask.
Hi,
a
Hershey.
question.
Sorry. I see Hershey. Hershey!
Hershey! Hi!
He wants to say hi.
Oh my gosh. We're so blessed.
So thank you for bringing Hershey. We just love him so much. So anyway, we're about to open it up to ask a Q&A from everybody attending. So if you have questions, go ahead and hit the raise your hand button. And like I was saying, I'll go ahead and ask you to unmute. Just make sure that you mute yourself again once you're done.
What are you drinking?
I brought this because I thought you might ask. Okay, so it's this boxed wine. It's this rosé. I was drinking it from the bottle. I found it. It's like inexpensive, but it comes from France, and it's I think it's like 13. Yeah, it's 13%. Because I feel like anything below 12.5 is like you might as well be drinking a White Claw or something. So, and then I found out that they had a box wine version of it, which, you know,
That's
so
more
last summer of COVID, I was like, I am going to do something fun. I need to make this summer fun. And so I was living in DC, and I decided it would be the summer of rosé, which I hadn't really drank a whole lot of rosé before, but I every day at 5 o'clock, I would sit on my front step and I would drink one glass of wine, and I would just like wave to people that were passing by. And it just helped me feel connected to humans during this like really strange time. And I enjoyed the summer of rosé so much that it has become a permanent thing.
That's amazing.
Okay.
I love that.
I'm ready for questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so how involved do you get with the production of the movie?
Oh, okay. So for the Netflix streaming series, I'll be an executive producer. But from what I understand, everybody and their brother is an executive producer on stuff. So that doesn't really do anything. I was asked if I wanted to write for it, but I'm not a screenwriter. So I've agreed to be a script consultant. But there are people far better at screenwriting than I could ever be. And I don't want to take the time it would take to become a good screenwriter. I'd rather spend my time writing new stories. So I'll be script consultant, and and I will like I'm going to be like the worst author, and I'll be the one that the Hollywood people think are just a pain in the ass, but I am going to be like, would you consider so-and-so for like, what about this? Have you seen this one? I will do like a little list of like who I think should be cast, with the understanding that they could, like put it in the circular file and, never speak of it again. And that's fine. I need to say my piece. I have invested too much time in my Pinterest casting ideas board to let it go without shooting my shot.
I love that. And I know part of the reason you went with Higher Ground was because were they most agreeable to like who you wanted? And is it specific to your tribe, or is it just?
No, they were the most in sync with me on a representation, not just in front of the camera, but behind the camera and in the writer's room, because I didn't just want them to cast, you know, Native people, but not have Native eyes writing those scripts and Native experience, you know, driving the series and shaping how it's filmed and that. So and there was one production company that I talked with during, you know, when it's equivalent to like a book auction, but it's for the film rights. And this one person, this company, you know, I gave them my little pitch of what was most important to me was the representation and that. And the person goes, "Oh, I didn't know that there are there Native screenwriters?" And I just thought, you know what? I am not going to do Indians 101 for something. Like if you're pitching to take my baby and put it on screen, do your homework and show me that you're going to invest your time and energy getting the basics down. And so, like, you know, that was an easy choice to take them off the table. And then just everything that I heard from Higher Ground, it was like, yes, they get it, you know, and so, yeah.
Well, that's great. We're so excited to see that. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Cece, go ahead with your question.
Hi, before I ask my question, I just want to tell you, so I'm not Native, but like Donis, I'm also multiracial, and I never really felt like I fit quite anywhere, kind of that racial identity crisis that Donis deals with throughout the book. And I have never seen that represented in fiction or that often. And it was really empowering to see that. So I just want to say thank you for writing and including that. I really related to her. My question doesn't really have to do with that though. So I was really curious how you did like research. Did you do research with the whole undercover FBI investigation thing? Like, did you talk to like FBI people or something?
Yeah, I did. So a friend of mine who's passed, her name was Cinda Hughes, and she like knows everyone in Indian country. And I worked with her brother, and we were out having drinks one night. Common theme in my stories, and she said, I was telling her about my book when I first met her, and then she was like, "Oh, you should meet Walt Lamar. He's a retired FBI agent, and he's Native, and he lived in Alexandria, Virginia, which is where I lived at the time, and so we like connected through Facebook and met." And once we established that trust, he would answer any question I had about FBI investigations. And yeah, he really informed a lot of those like secret squirrel lessons and stuff like that. Yeah, he was a phenomenal source for me.
That's really cool. Thank you.
And he put me in contact with like retired IRS agents,
Oh, wow.
with people that could, you know, speak to other areas that would overlap my research. Yeah. So, and I'm glad that the book resonated with you. I'm very glad. And I have heard that from other people who are not Native that just connected and felt seen. And that means a lot. That really does. That it's broader, you know, because I wanted to write a story that would have the most meaningful and widest impact possible. And so when you say that it, you know, that you connected, that's really great. Miigwech.
You did a great job.
That was great to hear. Maddie, go ahead with your question.
So I just want to know, what does it look like when you sit down to write? Like, is it like physically handwriting things? Is it like all over the place? Like, is it just typing? I'm always interested to know what it looks like.
Do my okay. If I can, I'll try to send this picture to you. So I have an iMac. I invested in an iMac when I got my book deal. So I had been on this like you know, my laptop and everything, and it had seen better days. But when I got that first check, I splurged and I bought myself my dream iMac. And so yeah, I write in Word, but I organize everything else in Google Drive. And so like I try to keep track of my my research and my different draft versions. And then as we get into edits, you know, I try to stay really organized, because otherwise it's just such a big mess. But yeah, my favorite time to write is first thing in the morning. I love to get up early. When my life is like going the way that I want it to, I'll usually go to bed between 10 and 11, get up at 6 and write for like right until noon, you know, and then, you know, do a couple of things and then see, you know, a lot of times in the afternoon, I kind of have low energy. And so that's a really good time to do things like signing book plates, checking with my booking agent and signing any upcoming contracts for events, or like the businessy kind of things. That's a good time to do that, because my brain isn't quite as sharp on story stuff in the afternoon. And then sometimes like a couple times a week, I'll go over to my parents' house. They live a block away, and my mom will cook dinner, and then we'll play Yahtzee. And so yeah, so, and then once in a while I'll get like a mood where I want to write, and it takes me back to my grant writing days when I would pull like an all-nighter to write. And when that wave hits, you have to respect it. And so there are times where I'll get back on my computer in the evening and write. And if I hit a good writing zone, I will ride that wave for as long as it lasts. And if it lasts all night, I'll keep writing all night. It'll screw up my schedule for at least a day or two, but you gotta ride the wave when it, you know, when the writing gods shine upon you, you better follow it.
I totally relate to the grant writing. So that's awesome.
Maddie, that's where my training as a writer. I used to kind of have imposter syndrome talking, like when I would be in different writer groups or things like that. And I would feel like I don't have an MFA. I've worked my whole career in Indian communities. I've never found a writing group that really suited me. And I just kind of felt like, I don't know if I'm one of these people that writes books. And then I was thinking about it, and I thought, you know what? All of my decades of grant writing experience, I am telling a short story in like 40 pages or less about my community, what the need is that we've identified, how we're going to solve it, when we're going to, you know, what our benchmarks are. Like, I am creating a compelling narrative so that we are competitive for the federal funding. And that gave me confidence that the ability to tell a story can take many different forms. And for me, grant writing was my training ground. And so I just own it and I talk about it. And other people are like, I never thought about that before, but you're right. And it's like, yep. So I have imposter syndrome no more.
Good. Awesome. Well, thank you for answering those questions.
Are there more? Like,
You're good on time?
I'm good.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
Oh, my friend Chrissy, who actually is my friend who told me about the guy, like it's 40 years later and we are still friends, and she still lives local, and she's coming over to have some drinks out on the deck at sunset. And so, yeah, you might get to meet her. And my publisher calls her the legend. So on my publishing day, my publisher had a Zoom, and it was 40 people from Macmillan and plus me and my agent. And they did a champagne toast. And like the president of Macmillan was like, congratulations, Angeline. And then she was with me because we went to my tribal community so I could launch my book in my community that day. And so I'm like, well, I'm here with my friend Chrissy, and she's the one that told me about the guy in high school. So they were like, the legend. And she's just so happy. So yeah. And to me, like, that friendship that's lasted 40 years and living a block away from my parents, to me, those things are like normalizing things that keep me from my head from exploding with the weirdness of all of the other stuff. So
That's
but yeah,
fantastic.
I'll answer anything.
I love that you guys are still friends.
Yeah, except for Jamie's name, I'll answer anything.
Dang it. I'm still going to try. Does anybody else know Jamie's name besides you?
No. I should write it down, like knock on wood. I should write it down in case something happens to me.
Yeah.
I'll let my daughter know.
There you go.
Yeah.
Kimmy, do you have any questions?
Oh man, can we hang out and do this again after your next book?
Yes, definitely. Oh my gosh. If you guys want to do like a launch party or something, I would
Yes.
love that.
Yes.
So fun. Do you have a title or anything yet, or how far along are you? And
I don't have a title, whereas with Firekeeper's Daughter, I knew from day one. Like, I knew it was going to be Firekeeper's Daughter. I always knew the beginning and the one villain, and I knew the ending that it should have, but I was kind of like resistant, but I stuck with that. And on this one, I know the beginning, and I know the ending, and I know one of the villains, but everything else, it's like I'm kind of like that in between plotter and pantser. So, and yeah, I'm not very far in on it, but I've been doing a lot of research about heist movies and heist novels to break down the genre and see where I can play with it. So yeah.
That'll be fun. Your dad was a firekeeper, right?
Yeah, he's a firekeeper that takes care of our ceremonial fires. And he'll sit at the fire. He likes to take that night shift. So when a ceremonial fire is lit, it doesn't go out until like the event, the cultural event is done, and then you let the fire go out. And he likes to take the night shift because he says that exciting things happen. Like, that's when the interesting stuff happens. And so he was at a fasting camp, and he was up all night, and he was at the fire, and he said out of the corner of his eye, he saw this little wee woman sitting over by, over to the side. And he knew if he looked at her, she'd go away. But so he saw a little person. And so these are things that, like, in my community, if I said something about little people, they'd be like, oh yeah, I know. And then there's this one elder, and when he was a little boy, he went missing for 2 days, and people didn't know where he was. And he said, when they found him, he said the little people took care of him, and everyone was like, oh, okay. Oh, thank goodness for the little people. It wasn't like, wait, what really happened? And so I appreciate that I can write about things like that and not have my writing be relegated to magical realism, which I think does a disservice at times to people from other cultures, that these are real cultural experiences to us. And I think when you label it magic realism, it takes it into something that makes it palatable for people outside of that culture to be like, oh, okay, I get it. It's part of, and so, yeah. So.
Maggie, go ahead with your question.
Hey, I'm Maggie. I didn't know how to raise my hand. So I have a question about Jamie's name. I just want to know, like, is there a specific significance to his name as to like a reason why you don't want to share his name? Like, is there something special behind it? Thanks.
I feel like you need to know his story in order to know his name.
Can we just get like all the books? A full series, everyone's story.
No, you need to like become book bloggers, and you need to sign up for Fierce Reads so you can get advanced reader copies of the book next fall.
It's not on NetGalley?
Yeah, it'll be on NetGalley. Yes, it will be on NetGalley. Yeah.
It's Fierce Reads, you said?
Fierce Reads. Yeah, that's the kind of social media PR arm of Macmillan. And so you can request advanced reader copies, like getting involved with Fierce Reads and NetGalley. That puts you in a good position to request advanced reader copy of the book, which you'd be able to get next fall instead of waiting until spring of 2022.
Yes. Hey, buddy. Yes. Awesome. Ashley, go ahead.
So you just mentioned for your next book that you, sorry if you hear my dog, it's okay. That you were looking at movies. Come here. That you were looking at movies and books and stuff for Heist. Were there any books or movies that you were looking at or reading or watching when you were prepping for Firekeeper's Daughter? Mute myself.
No. Well, I really looked at the hero's journey. I researched that when I was writing Donis's story because, so my kids, when they were younger, we started talking about like one loved Star Wars and one loved Harry Potter. And I recognize I don't contribute any money to Harry Potter anymore. But at the time we were kind of invested in it. And so I had my my middle son and my daughter talk about the ways that Luke Skywalker and Harry Potter's journeys were similar. And I thought I discovered something brand new, but then I found out that's called the hero's journey. I was like, oh my God, it's like the same story. And I had my kids go through like, okay. And then, Obi-Wan is Dumbledore. And so it was like the whole thing. But, so I really researched the hero's journey, and I looked at different plot beats that takes, but then I also looked at our medicine wheel teachings, which, has the 4 traditional colors. And I saw something right after I saw a visual about the hero's journey, and I put them together so that I was like, I'm going to write the hero's journey from an Ojibwe young woman's point of view, and it's going to follow our medicine wheel teachings. And so that was the cultural and story framework that I was working in. Now heist movies and books are a little different, and so I've been getting myself up to speed about that. So I've probably watched Ocean's 8 at least 8 times, and when I say watched, I have my iPad with my little plot beat Excel spreadsheet that I'm like geeking out on. So when I say research, I'm like deconstructing it and scene by scene looking at how, conflict resolution and tension and building a story, seeing how they build a story.
That is so awesome. I am probably going to have to leave soon. Sorry.
I know you're on vacation. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you.
But I want to be sure to get the picture.
Oh, okay, yeah, let's get the picture.
So if
And then-
everyone can hold up their copy, if you have it, let me.
I'm gonna hold up this thing because it photographs better. But, and I will say that any of your listeners, any of your readers, that if you would like a signed book plate, please go to my Instagram, follow me, and through my DMs, let me know how you want it personalized and what your mailing address is, and I'll send you a signed book plate.
Oh, that'll be awesome. I would love one. So I will definitely hit you up for that.
Same. All right. Is everyone ready? Oh, again, puppies in here. Love it.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. I think we are good with that.
So much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've had the best time. I appreciate everything that you guys have done diving into this
We
book.
appreciate your book. It's probably my favorite book this year. I can't get over it.
Yeah, it is. It actually, I posted today on Instagram my reading bracket for halfway through the year, and Firekeeper's Daughter is my favorite book of the year so far.
I have other people reading it. So
Yeah.
good. So thank you.
So thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it. And we'll go ahead and send out the picture to everybody on the Instagram chat, and then post it as well. And if you guys post it on your Instagram, please feel free to tag us and Angeline as well. So
Yes.
Great. Thank you all
so
so much.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.